Nabalungag sa palisan, na imbaga bigat kadahay amin. Magandang umaga sa inyo ang lahat. Good morning, everyone. I am Teacher J, and I welcome you all to our virtual classroom, where learning the oral communication in context is a whole new experience. To activate our session, let us have a guessing game. Can you guess the word that the picture depicts? You have 10 seconds to answer. You are correct. The word is communication. In this episode, we will learn about the nature and process of communication. The question is, does being able to talk guarantee one to become a good communicator? What is communication? How does the process of communication work? What are the fundamental elements needed in communication? At the end of this lesson, you will be able to explain the nature and process of communication. You will learn that the key to becoming an effective communicator is to reach out to others and really put all your efforts into transmitting your message as accurately as possible for understanding to occur. Every day, we communicate. Whenever we've had a conversation, texted a friend, or given a classroom presentation, we have engaged in communication. Communication also happens through postures or glances across a room. In fact, communication occurs even without opening our mouth. The smell of a woman's perfume, the taste of a semi-sweet chocolate, the sound of a background music of a horror movie, all this moves us to action or reaction. These are all examples of effective communication, and none of them involve words, because communication may also be both a science and a feeling. Communication is a collaborative process. Why collaborative process? The word communication comes from the Latin word communis or communicare, which means to share or to participate. Therefore, communication needs the involvement of others. The most important aspects of our lives, such as our identities, organizations, relationships, cultures, and ideas, are accomplished through communication. It is the process of using common system of words, sounds, signs, symbols, or behaviors to exchange information or to express our ideas, thoughts, or feelings to someone else. It is a collective activity in which people work together to create and share meaning. Communication is a dynamic and ongoing process. Communication as a process means it is a step-by-step activity, and it is essentially a two-way process that involves the active participation of both the sender and receiver. Communication is a dynamic process which is influenced by the communicator's mood and thinking. It is a complex process too. By complex process, it means one message may be interpreted in many ways by different people. For example, as I explained this lesson to our class of 15 students, especially that we don't interact in a face-to-face session due to the pandemic, there may also be 15 different understanding of the lesson. That is why there is a need to seek for clarification called feedback. Communication has a sender and a receiver. It occurs between two or more people acting as a speaker and the receiver of the message. In other words, it is a two-way process of reaching mutual understanding in which participants do not only exchange information, news, ideas, and feelings, but also create and share meaning. In general, communication is a means of connecting people or places. Communication is verbal or non-verbal. Communication can be expressed through written or spoken words or actions at the same time. Communication is not only about sending or receiving facts in words. It does also involve ideas and emotions that are expressed through signs, symbols, and gestures. Let's take a look at the example. Hello, Miss Beautiful. Care for a cup of hot coffee? Ew, like I care. The sample image shows both verbal or spoken words and nonverbal actions. The man uses both verbal and nonverbal cues when he winked at the lady and at the same time greeted her and offered her a drink. On the other hand, the girl's smirk is a gesture of disgust or dislike. Even without the use of words, the lady's gesture is still understood as a form of communicating her disapproval towards man. Communication is irreversible. This means that what you have said can never be unsaid. Irreversibility happens when you click the OK button for a comment or post on your social media, and that it would be too late to take it back when a lot of people have reacted or commented to it. Perhaps the same thing happens when you throw a hurtful word to your enemy out of your anger. You can later be sorry for what you have said, but once the damage has been done, it can never be undone. This implies that as senders of the message, we must be careful to choose our words appropriately. This time, let us have a bigger look at how the communication process works. Communication starts with an idea from the sender, the source of the idea. To be able to communicate, we must have an idea, something in mind that we want to express, information to share, and others. Our past experiences, knowledge, feelings, attitudes, and culture influence the ideas that we want to share and the way that we interpret the ideas of others. Before we transmit these ideas to other person or group, we must encode them according to our own unique perceptions. Just like when you want to share your ideas in our discussion, you place that information into code. In other words, you encode the idea. Now that the idea is encoded, it is ready to be transmitted to the other person or group. The encoded idea is called the message. The message is sent to a receiver who decodes it based on their perceptions, which are different from the sender's. In our case, I am the sender of the content of our lesson, and you are the receiver. The receiver must then interpret the message by filtering the new information through his past experiences, knowledge, values, feelings, attitudes, and culture. This interpretation is called decoding the message. The sender has to make sure that the receiver has understood the message. Therefore, it is the receiver's job to convey a message back. The receiver's reply to the sender is called feedback. The feedback allows the sender to ensure that the original message was interpreted correctly by the receiver. Once a cycle has gone full circle, it will repeat itself for as long as the conversation continues. We could even say that the sender and receiver exchange roles throughout the process, depending on who is sending the message and who is responding to feedback. This shows that communication is a two-way process. Let's take a look at the communication flow between Nico and Sheena. Sheena loves Nico, her suitor, as a friend. She thinks of how to tell him using their native language. She tells him, "Nico, mahal kita bilang kaibigan." Nico hears what Sheena says. He tries to analyze what she means based on the context and their relationship, and he is heartbroken. He frowns and does not say anything because he is hurt. What does the communication show? Who is the sender? Who is the receiver? What is the message delivered? And what was the feedback? Yes, the diagram shows the communication process. Sheena, being the sender, expresses her feelings for Nico, her suitor, but only as a friend. Nico, the receiver, was hurt upon receiving Sheena's message. See? This is how simple communication process goes. We actually do this every day, right? Now that we understand the general idea about how the cycle works, we notice that there are fundamental elements needed in order for us to carry out the communication process. Without these building blocks, communication is not possible. The communication process starts with the sender, who is called the communicator or source. The person to whom a message is directed is called the receiver or the interpreter. Also called the channel, the medium is the means by which a message is transmitted. Text messages, chats, email, for example, are transmitted through the medium of cell phones or communication devices. Messages can also be delivered through speaking, writing, letters, television, radio, and others. The message or content is the information that the sender wants to relay to the receiver. Additional subtext can be conveyed through body language and tone of voice. The communication process reaches its final point when the message has been successfully transmitted, received, and understood. The receiver, in turn, responds to the sender, indicating comprehension. Feedback may be direct, such as written or verbal response, or it may take the form of an act or deed in response, which is indirect. Yes, no response is also a response. The communication process isn't always so simple or smooth, of course. These elements can affect the information that is transmitted, received, and interpreted. The noise. This can be any sort of interference that affects the message being sent, received, or understood. This is sometimes called communication barrier. Loud noises, bad phone connections, language barriers, attitudes about the topic or the speaker, the temperature, or a broken hearing aid are all examples of communication barriers. The context. This is the setting and situation in which communication takes place. Like noise, context can have an impact on the successful exchange of information. It may have a physical, social, or cultural aspect to it. We have finally discussed the nature and process of communication and its fundamental elements. Now, it's time to assess your feedback. Let's see how you've learned in this session. Here's the first item.
Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Number 7. Number 8. Number 9.
Now, let's check your answers. Number 1 shows a message. Number 2 depicts the sender. How about this? Yes, it is called feedback. For number 4, it's receiver. Number 5, we can see the context. How about number 6? Good. It shows the process of encoding. Number 7 shows barrier. Very good. Number 8, it's decoding. And for number 9, it's channel. There you go. Congratulations for a job well done in our practice exercises. After learning the definition, nature and processes of communication, create your own communication mantra. But wait, do you know what a mantra is? A mantra is a motivating chant. Repeating the line, I can do it, over and over again, like when you are about to try your first 200-meter zipline experience or your first delivery of a speech on a stage is a mantra. Yes, a mantra is usually any repeated words or phrases to motivate you. Example, a good source of information I will always. Yes, I will always. Post your created mantra on your Facebook wall based on the following rubric. Content, 10 points. Communication skills, 10 points. Creativity, 10 points. For a total score of 30 points. Make sure to tag me on your post. So, are you excited to create your own mantra? Go ahead, please. This time, let us check your understanding as you answer the assessment test on page 16 of your module. I repeat, page 16 of your module. Make sure to submit your answers until Friday. So there you have it, guys. I hope you learned something from the discussion today. In the next episode, we shall be exploring on the functions of communication. Again, I am Teacher Je saying, keep safe and see you soon.